it fast. Right here on the Anycast. Make it strong, make it last. Right here on the Anycast.
All right, I'm excited. I'm here today with James, who is coming to us from not my continent. James, where in the world are you today, right now?
I am in Brisbane in Australia. I've had to switch this whole thing upside down for you.
Yes, you're in the middle of the day. You're swirling backwards when I flush you, all those things. Those are all the things I know. Yes. Well, for those who don't know, give us 2 minutes. How did you get here? Where did you come from? What are you selling? And then everybody can fast forward 2 minutes to avoid the commercial pitch and get to the good stuff. So
I'm selling nothing. There you go.
Excellent.
That's the easiest plan. So I write a daily newsletter, which is called Podnews, which if you're interested in podcasting at all, you should be getting it. It's free. Hence why I'm not selling anything. Podnews.net. How did I get here? Well, I've been in the radio business and the audio business for the last 20-something years, 30-something years, 35 years. Gosh. And so I've been doing that for quite some time. I wrote my first RSS feed back in 2004 for a radio station, 2005 for a radio station that I was working for in the UK at the time, and have been writing the Podnews newsletter, which has a daily podcast, since May of 2017, every single weekday. So there's a thing.
gosh, that's going to be 250 plus episodes a year, and newsletters a year.
Yep.
That is a prolific amount of content one needs to produce. What does that look? How does one do that? I have a hard enough time producing one show.
Yeah. I think I'm on episode 1930 at the moment of the daily podcast, and that didn't even start in May 2017. It only started because I was bored of people coming up to me in places like Podcast Movement and saying, "What's your podcast?" And I would say, "I don't have one. I just write about it." And that was and this was no good. But actually, I enjoy doing that. So yeah, it's an interesting world to write a daily newsletter, and particularly interesting if you're doing, as I do, a fair amount of flying around and talking at conferences and things, because it means that you have to work in writing and recording a newsletter in a airport lounge somewhere in the middle of the planet, which is always entertaining. I know exactly where to go in Singapore Airport, in Dubai Airport, for a nice quiet place. But a lot of it is down to reading RSS feeds. A lot of it is down to understanding, the interesting stories of the day and focusing on that. And a lot of it is, there's some tips and tricks that I use to automate as much of that as possible, because I've written all of the tech that sends the newsletter and that makes the newsletter appear on a website and all of that. And so quite a lot of that has just been, seeing what I can do to lessen the boring stuff, to lessen the stuff that isn't creative and that isn't interesting, button presses and copying and pasting things into other things. All of that can go away because that's not interesting or exciting. So I've got rid of all of that in my workflow so that I can focus on the creative stuff, because the creative stuff is the interesting stuff to me.
I would be remiss if we were talking about where we're headed if I did not have an opportunity to ask you about AI and podcasting.
Oh, good.
I know you're excited. I know you're excited. I was struck at Podcast Movement with the levels of emotion around AI. There was excitement. There was angst. There was frustration. There was hope. Like it felt very emotional, obviously. How do you see the mix of reactions in the podcasting world right now? Because it seemed to just be a huge gap.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fair. I think, when I started in radio, when I was on the radio, I was playing vinyl records and CDs. CDs had just come out, but we had half, they hadn't just come out, I'm not that old, but we had half of our library on CDs and half of our library on vinyl. and I was playing, adverts on, tape cartridges and stuff like that. And then one day, some bright spark turned up with a computer. And hey presto, all of the audio that we would play was all on a computer. And instead of having to find a vinyl disc and cue that up with the needle, just a quarter turn, in front of the audio and all this kind of nonsense, literally there was a big button that somebody had helpfully marked next. And you pressed the next button and it will play the next audio in the queue. And loads of people were going, "Oh, this is going to be the death of radio. We're all going to hell in a handbasket because we've got, none of this is going to work." And realistically, what actually happened there is things changed. And as a radio personality, you could actually focus on what you were going to say next instead of finding the next vinyl disc or finding 7 or 8 ads to put into your next stop set or whatever it might end up being. And things changed and you could actually focus on the creative process a little bit more. And you could do things that actually were physically impossible for you to press lots of buttons at the same time. But you could do that with the computer that was in there. So I think it really is it's a bunch of tools. Now, you can make some really bad radio with those voice tracking systems, and you can also make some amazing radio. And similarly, I think with all of the tools that we have for AI, you can make some really bad, awful podcasts, and many people have using AI. But you can also make some fantastic stuff that is actually better than you could have done by yourself. It's just a bunch of tools, and you can use tools for good and use tools for bad. So I can completely understand where people are coming from. But I think instead of looking at AI as a whole overarching thing, look at each individual tool and work out, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? How could we use this for good? And I think if we end up doing that, then there are so many opportunities.
5 years from now, so whatever that is, going into 2030, yeah. I guess. What is the thing that you are going to be right about that people are most skeptical about?
Wow. What is the thing that I'm going to be right about in 5 years? I think that the majority of podcasting in 5 years will still be on open RSS and won't be on a proprietary system like YouTube. And partially that is me hoping that that's going to be correct, but partially I think that is probably going to be correct. Open RSS has been such an opportunity for us. It's enabled us to innovate. It's enabled us to launch a brand new medium without any gatekeepers there, without anybody turning around and saying, no, you can't get your podcast because of X or Y or Z. And so I think there are lots of naysayers about RSS and about open RSS in particular right now. But I absolutely think in 5 years' time, it will still be the number one way that we consume individual podcasts or shows, as Spotify might want to call them. But I think I think that the future of open RSS and the future of podcasting as a whole is really, really bright.
I'm going to ask Siri to remind me in 4 years and 364 days to go get the data and see how much is still open RSS.
Yeah.
James, this was awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate the insight.
Matt, thank you, and have a great rest of yesterday, as we say here in Australia.
It is. I will do so as much as I can. When we were in the wintertime, we used to go to Jamaica, and we always got the USA Yesterday.
Yes.
Because the USA Today never made it on time. So there you go. Yes. All right. We'll leave it there. Thank you, James.
This is different. Another round. So much more to talk about. Gonna aim to satisfy with help from Cashfly. Get to it fast. Right here on the Anycast. Make it strong, make it last. Right here on the Anycast. The Anycast podcast, brought to you by Cashfly.